Salve Regina, Mater misericordiae, vita dulcedo, estes nostra salve.
The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke.
Glory to you, Lord.
Jesus said to his disciples, I have come to set the earth on fire, and how I wish it were already blazing. There is a baptism with which I must be baptized, and how great is my anguish until it is accomplished. Do you think that I have come to establish peace on the earth? No, I tell you, but rather division. From now on, a household of 5 will be divided, 3 against 2, and 2 against 3. A father will be divided against his son, and a son against his father. A mother against her daughter, and a daughter against her mother. A mother-in-law against her daughter-in-law, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. I'm often grateful for the little conversations that I have with people before Mass. And I was kind of grateful this morning for the little short conversation that I had with Deacon Carl. Because he said to me, every once in a while, I'm overwhelmed with gratitude. And he said last night was one of those occasions. And I said, well, that's very interesting because essentially this is exactly what St. Paul is teaching us in the first reading from his letter to the Ephesians this morning. He said, I kneel before the Father. Kneeling is a posture of submission. It is an outward sign that points to an interior attitude of the heart. And what St. Paul is trying to communicate to us this morning is that he is grateful and he kneels before the Father because he recognizes that all life and blessing come from the Father. Anything that is good comes from the Father. And then he wants us to begin to understand and to appreciate, he says, the height, the depth, the length, and the breadth of the love of Christ. Those are extensions of the cross. The height of heaven to the depth of the netherworld and the length and breadth of the cosmos. In other words, everything is under the power of Christ. All blessing has been given to us in the person of Jesus Christ. I told Deacon Carl, the Holy Father is writing an encyclical on the Sacred Heart. And I read this morning that he said that the Sacred Heart is the incarnate synthesis of the gospel. Think about that statement. I was thinking this morning of a poem I read many years ago. Everything I ever needed to know I learned in kindergarten. How many of you have heard of that? Well, it's written by a man by the name of Robert Fulghum, and he says that everything he ever needed to learn was in kindergarten. He said, share everything, play fair, don't hit people, put things back where you found them, clean up your own mess, don't think things that aren't yours, say you're sorry, flush wash your hands. Warm cookies and milk are good for you, and on and on and on. It's kind of funny. It's kind of, reminiscent. But in reality, the most important things I ever learned in my life were from my father. And three of the most important things I learned from my father was the importance of prayer. How to treat a woman by watching how my father treated my mother. And the importance of hard work, a good work ethic, and an education. My bedroom, when I was growing up, was directly across from my parents' bedroom. And I could see into the bedroom. And my mom was a nurse and worked second shift, and so my dad came home at 5 o'clock and he'd make supper for my sister and I. We went out to play, and when the lights came on, it was time to come in, take a bath. And before we went to bed, he read us a story. And then my dad would go to bed early at night as well. He liked to read. And so he'd read in bed a magazine or a book for 10, 15 minutes, and pretty quick the glasses would come off on the nightstand, and he'd roll out of bed and he'd kneel down next to his bed and say his prayers. I watched my father do that every single night. He never said to me, "Did you say your prayers tonight?" He never said, "Don't forget to pray." He never said praying was important, but the lesson I learned and the message I got by watching him was, that's important. Where did he learn that? From his father. And where did his father learn that? But from his father, and his father, and his father. That's why St. Paul says, I kneel before the Father. Like Deacon Carl said, he was filled with gratitude because he learned somewhere in life that all of his blessings, anything that is any good, comes from the Father. If we learn nothing else in life, that's why I keep telling you, students at HFA, it's not about an education you're getting. You can get that anywhere. It's the formation you're getting. See, if we learn nothing else but gratitude and learn where all blessings come from, we've learned what St. Paul has learned and what Christ has come, and the fire of God's love that he's come to cast upon the earth. The most important lessons that we could ever learn in life.
Regina Celi, letare, alleluia, qui aquam meruisti portare, alleluia. Resurrexit sicut dixit, alleluia. Ora pro nobis Deum, alleluia.